NATO is warning China against supporting Russia's war effort in Ukraine. The alliance also says Beijing should not do anything to help Russia get around sanctions from the West. Kevin Rudd is here with us in the studio to give us an analysis of China's role in this conflict. He is the author of The Avoidable War, The Dangers of Catastrophic Conflict Between the U.S. and Xi Jinping's China. The book came out this week. He's also the president of the Asia Society and the former Prime Minister of Australia. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here with all of our friends in New York.
Yes, yes. It's really wonderful to meet you. So let me ask you about this. The Biden administration has warned Beijing not to take advantage of the business opportunities that have been created by these sanctions that have been imposed on Russia. How seriously do you see China taking these warnings? I mean, to me, it feels like what their overarching goal is, unlike the Cold War that we all lived through in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, it's not domination of the United States. It seems to be an economic one, where they're just about China and China being the dominant economic force in the world. Doing something that would jeopardize that doesn't seem to be what they would want to do, but you tell me.
Well, historically, they've been primarily focused on, as you said, becoming the dominant economic power. Firstly in the Indo-Pacific region and then more broadly globally. But it's under Xi Jinping, it's got stronger than that. It's a target now to become the dominant military power, at least with the Indo-Pacific, sometime in the next 20, 25 years. And that's where the Chinese military modernization program is going. Where does Russia fit into this? From Xi Jinping's worldview, sitting in there in the Politburo in Beijing, Russia strategically and structurally for the Chinese is helpful. One, it removes any tension on the Russia-China border, which historically existed for most of the last 400 years, since the Tsarists actually took over the Russian Far East, much of it from China, way back then. Number two, if Russia is therefore a benign neighbor, China can therefore focus all of its strategic energies, military and economic, against the United States, its long-term adversary, both in financial, economic and military competition in Asia, where the big focus is still Taiwan. And on top of that, Russia actually delivers an advantage to China by keeping America preoccupied in other theaters. Middle East, Syria, North Africa, now Ukraine. So therefore, when we say, why would China want to do this? Why would they want to provide tacit support for the Russian invasion of Ukraine, or at least remain technically neutral? Because I don't think the Chinese want to sacrifice any of those core interests. There's a bit of bromance involved, you know, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, not exactly riding horses together without a shirt, but getting close to it. You know, it's all that sort of stuff, because they are, strong men of history, all that sort of authoritarian stuff. But there's a structural factor as well.
Because I was going to actually sort of talk to you about that, because, everyone remembers that joint press conference before the Olympics where they sort of vowed their, devotion to each other, at least philosophically, if you will. But then, since this invasion, a lot of questions about whether or not China knew the invasion was going to happen or not. But China's been really walking this fine line. There was a UN vote blaming Russia for the humanitarian crisis. Yesterday, China abstained. China has offered to help Ukraine rebuild, but they still won't call this an invasion or a war. Can you talk to me a little bit more about why the fine line? Why walk this fine line?
Well, it's a fine line at one level. The Chinese domestically and their own Chinese media say we're being neutral. But from a Russian perspective, they've been providing a fair bit of political and diplomatic support around the world, expanding their imports from Russia, which is technically possible under the sanctions regime because no one's banned Russian oil and gas exports across the board. What's really interesting, however, is that the Chinese so far have been unprepared to explicitly violate US financial sanctions. There's a reason for that, because China is still dependent on the dollar-denominated global financial system.
And they own all our debt.
Exactly so. And if you are so exposed to that financial system, you wouldn't want to run the risk of secondary sanctions, either by breaching US financial sanctions against Moscow, let alone providing military support, which we understand Putin has requested the Chinese.
Mr. Prime Minister, your book, The Avoidable War, came out this week, and you make the argument that the 2020s are going to be critical for this relationship between the United States and China. And without giving away what's in the book, because we want people to buy it, obviously, what's causing those tensions that you outline?
Well, we have what's called in Washington, both sides of the aisle, Democrats, Republicans, a new period of strategic competition between China and the United States. Because at the end of the day, China does, in the Indo-Pacific, want to supplant the United States as the dominant power. Therefore, it's a competition for economic influence, for geopolitical influence, for technological power, and therefore this competition, however it's described, is on in earnest every day of the week, right across all the countries of Asia, where my own country, Australia, is located as well. So that is the core dynamic that's underway at the moment. The burden of the book that I've written is simply, well, this strategic competition's underway. You can either have unmanaged strategic competition, which in my judgment from history is dangerous because it can escalate into crisis, conflict and war. If we had an American and Chinese ship collide tomorrow in the South China Sea and one of them went down, what would be the escalation potential of that? You know, that's the stuff which the book is worried about. But you can manage it with some rules of the road, which is what I try to describe.
Can I ask you, Mr. Prime, because it's not often we get a former Prime Minister here in Studio 57, so this is an important question. Is the language Australia, like the United States, has a number of Chinese Americans, Chinese Australians. I wonder if the language that we've been hearing lately from politicians about China being our enemy, it feels oftentimes as if the West, the United States, other countries in the West need a boogeyman to point fingers to alleviate either domestic concerns or anything that might distract people from issues that are facing people here at home. I wonder if the language that is sometimes used about China as an enemy of the United States can have consequences for people who are Chinese American, Chinese Australians, because it does seem like we've seen a rise in violence against Asian Americans, and it started in the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, yeah, I'm president of the Asia Society here in New York, so one of the things we're concerned about as an institution is violence against Asian Americans. I do a weekly little podcast on Asian Americans building America to roll back that whole narrative, because we've got so many patriotic Asian Americans doing great things, from astronauts to people who run restaurants and the rest, generating jobs every day. So therefore, I agree with you, the political class in this country and in my own have to be very careful of the language they use, because Asian Australians, Chinese Australians, Asian Americans, Chinese Americans, we cannot actually use our language in such a loose way as we make them victims on the streets. I am the grandfather of 2 Chinese Australian grandkids. I speak Mandarin. I worked in our embassy in Beijing. I spent most of my pre-politics career on China questions, before I slid down the food chain of life into politics. And now I'm back again. I'm doing China stuff. But you know something? The Chinese people, the Chinese nation, it's a proud nation, a proud people with an extraordinary history. Let's separate that out from the current conflict and disagreement we have with the Communist Party run by Xi Jinping. It's this particular administration this time which has changed course in China, and that is bringing about reaction elsewhere. So be very careful about loose use of the word China or the Chinese. Think of the party and think of Xi Jinping's party. That's a different entity.
Kevin Rudd, I'd like to have you on once a week.
Yes, come back and talk to us again, please.
Thank you so much.